Greetings from the far side of the galaxy, I'm Fuuri, here to tell you about a game that's not actually out yet. Rather than being a full game, it's a demo that's gotten quite far as it continues development. So let's start talking about Kings of Hell. I first heard about this game not long after the first demo came out. I downloaded it off of itch, played it for 10 minutes, and then I promptly never opened it again. Whoops, that's my bad. But since I've seen some talk about it in the comments, I figured why not finally pick this game back up. Before I continue, I must first make it clear that this game is very much intended for 18 and up. I'm not even sure the ESRB would give it anything lower than an M. I respect the game's creator, Strawberry Octi, for committing so hard for this game rather than focusing on popular marketability. He said no to boobs and yes to butts and bulges, and you know what? That's based. The basic idea for the plot is told to us through a Star Wars style text crawl. To sum it up short, humans are dead as hell and demons reign upon the earth in an era of unrivaled strife. In a world where might makes right, the one who beats all the baddies, the Dukes of Hell, will earn the privilege to reign supreme as King of Hell. It's a very goofy and bombastic concept that suits the nature of this goofy and bombastic game. The characters are as absurd as the action, with tons of squash and stretch that make it almost look like a cartoon. And no, your eyes aren't deceiving you, they are wearing spandex, and yes, that is their bulges. I won't lie, the sheer level of plot within the game's imagery is the reason I didn't stream the game. That and the game's love for the word fuck.
Fucking.
Real talk, YouTube super doesn't like that word, so I'm making no money from this video. I'm just gonna remind you I have a Ko-fi and Patreon in the description, and it's a big help if you share this video. The gameplay is shamelessly inspired by arcade beat-em-ups and 3D hack and slashes, like Turtles in Time's had a baby with no more heroes. One fucked up, weird, bloody baby. You run around levels beating up bad guys with generic names and slaughtering bosses that are oozing with personality. Now that I bring up No More Heroes, there's a lot of that game in this game's lifeblood. From the blood and vulgarity to even the way bosses die with a screen effect and a cheesy one-liner about their defeat. Thankfully, despite taking inspirations from other games, Kings of Hell manages to be its own thing with its unique method of gameplay. The game uses a basic 4-button setup that's reminiscent to what you'd find using an arcade stick. Going counterclockwise, and using Xbox buttons, sue me, A is jump, B is light attack, Y is heavy attack, and X is grab. There's also a variety of actions that are tied to pressing 2 or more buttons. On controllers, these are macro to your shoulder buttons. Pressing RB is macro to AY, and LB is macro to BY, letting you use special moves that differ from character to character. Your left trigger isn't for attacks, rather it lets you put the pedal to the metal and start running, and your right trigger are for your character's unique super attacks. What stood out to me most about Kings of Hell is definitely its unique combo system. That multiplied number isn't just for your points, it multiplies the damage of your grab, letting you get super big damage in on bosses and regular enemies alike. Your multiplier increases faster with the more variety of moves you use, so you're encouraged to actually branch out with your combos if you want to get those big numbers. The demo has multiple playable characters, and you start with the 4 protagonists. First is Lieutenant Lucifer, who's a scythe-wielding rockstar. Then there's the big boy, Infer Belial, who's got a baby face but a strong man's body. Then there's Grimmy Hotshot, who's a fucking cowboy. And finally, the ancient demon Maul Leviathan, who's their boss and manager. Despite following the same control scheme, it's actually quite impressive how differently they all play from each other. There's some commonalities like light and heavy attacks and the rush of punches, but they all have their own special sauce. Luton is able to throw his scythe like a boomerang, and you can control where it goes. Infer is a big-bodied grappler. His punches tend to launch enemies, but he's got a lot more unique features. When running, he's able to turn it into a charging attack, and one of his specials gives him armor that blocks attacks just for a moment. Grimmy has a range attack where when you push B, he just starts shooting his guns at anyone you point at. He's also able to float in the air, descending slowly as you shoot away. Mal has basic normals, but his specials can freeze the ground and his opponents. He's also able to do this jumping attack over and over. The game also has supers that use these little balls right here as charges, and of course, they're different for each character. For example, Mal creates a giant ice dragon to damage anything around him for his special, and Infer gains invincibility for a limited time. You could probably tell, due to the amount of detail I went into when explaining what he could do, that I used Infer the most. His good damage was super useful for dealing with tough enemies. Mini-bosses and bosses will have a meter that needs to be broken before you can hit them with a grab. Infer's heavy hits were crucial to breaking that bar before they could fight back. The demo only has 4 chapters finished, but given how differently each character plays, these 4 levels are quite fun to replay with other characters. I did actually have more fun on these replays because for me personally, it took a hot second to actually get comfortable with the controls. Remember when I said, the game uses a basic 4-button setup that's reminiscent to what you'd find using an arcade stick. To me, this kind of control style was just weird when playing with a controller. I had to spend some decent time in the lobby and learning in the stage themselves before I actually got used to what buttons do what. While the game does support controllers, it only allows for full button rebinding on keyboard. I found myself constantly wishing I had a good fight stick to go along with the game. Not just because it'd make this arcade game more immersive, but because it seemed like it was designed for them. The trigger macros work fine, but those button combinations would just feel so much better on the hands. There's also the fact that this game is hard, like really hard. Like it was made by a greedy imp from hell that was obsessed with stealing 12-year-olds' quarters in the arcade kind of hard. You will get your ass kicked, and you will get it kicked a lot. The only saving grace is that you heal a bit whenever you kill an enemy, but sometimes it's just not enough, especially during bosses when there aren't any extra enemies to kill. Then there's the fact that the game doesn't really have any defensive mechanics. You can't block, you can't dodge, you just have to run away, which unsurprisingly means you get hit a lot. The game does a good job of telegraphing things for the most part, where basic enemies have huge wind-ups and bosses often straight up have danger zones to warn you. But just being able to see it coming doesn't mean you'll get out of the way. I don't even need a dodge that has iframes or cancels my attacks, just something that can quickly get my ass moving is all I need. Unironically, I had to use my grab on nothing simply to abuse the fact that it makes your character lunge forward or away from damage. That's pretty much where my major gripes with the game end. Button rebinding and better defense would go a long way to making things feel more balanced. Or maybe it's the fact that Kings of Hell is a party game, so maybe it's just designed around having more people, because I flew this entire game solo. The gameplay's flaws didn't bother me too much because the game does have a rewarding gameplay loop. Expectedly, the first level is the simplest, where you're brought from set piece to set piece as you tear your way through trash mobs, but it gets more interesting from there. The idea is that you need to fill the give 'em hell meter by destroying objects and killing enemies. The quicker you kill, the more you destroy, the better you'll do. Again, I found myself using Infer for this since one of his specials is dedicated to destroying objects. Filling up the meter is your main goal for levels 2 and 3, but Kings of Hell manages to find a way to make it more interesting. And that's simply by giving you much more freedom to decide how you want to do things. Yeah, it's still killing anything in your way, but you get to choose where you go and what challenges you face. The levels are less like traditional levels and more like a collection of challenge rooms. They contain enemies, but in a variety of situations that change how you fight. Maybe you'll fight a mini-boss on a teacup ride, where on occasion, he'll drop burgers that restore HP. But watch out, wait too long and these burgers turn into poison. My favorite thing about this is that it means the challenges are technically optional. You hate some part of a level? It just drains away too many lives? then just don't do it. That may sound stupid, but being able to skip the annoying parts of the game is just so damn good. Like, we all have that one part we hate, even in games we love, but here you can genuinely just decide to not do it. Level 4 is basically a boss rush with 3 bosses back to back, and I'm actually okay with that. Fighting peons is fine, but the real standout part of this game are the bosses. Despite the demo only having 4 levels, there are 9 bosses, and all, well, almost all, are pretty good. I know I've been comparing it to No More Heroes a lot, but sue me, No More Heroes is great, but just like in that game, every single one of these bosses are dripping with personality. My favorite design has to be Bure, and it's for a good reason. Bure is based on a demon of the same name, who has the head of a lion, but a body that's basically a wheel of goat legs. In Kings of Hell, Bure still has the head of a lion and is still a wheel, but now he's a steering wheel. It's a wonderfully creative interpretation, and the boss is just cool as hell, literally chasing you throughout the level. My favorite boss fight for the fight itself is probably Seth from level 3. Seth's design is just cool. Like Mr. Game & Watch from Smash, he's a 3D model stylized to look 2D, and the fight leans into it. You have to pay attention to what his shadow is doing, watching for attacks beneath your feet. It's a boss fight that looks as good as it feels to play. My least favorite boss is probably Baal from the end of Chapter 2. It's like Bloodborne all over again, where sometimes the boss is just too big for you to see what they're doing, and because of that, you just get hit. The thing that came as the biggest shock to me while playing this game, well, demo, is that it has unlockable content. The most benign being stickers, which I imagine is pretty fun for communicating with friends online. I wouldn't know, again, I have no friends. But what's much more interesting and rewarding are the unlockable characters. Yeah, you heard me right. Unlockable characters in a demo. A demo! And the unlockable characters are pretty cool, being the bosses themselves. You can play as Bure, Agaris, or as Modius. And these aren't half-assed. They're fully dedicated playable characters with their own one-liners they say as they fight.
Your pain is my pleasure.
All of their moves are even from their boss fights, so it really does feel like you're playing as the bosses. I was so gobsmacked when I managed to unlock the fucking car, as a playable character. The game just has so much personality, like the boss Pursuer Agaris, a gun-tooting cowboy that's dripping with southern hospitality, or how Mal and Yama have that fake cordiality as they insult each other. The game also seems so well thought out, where every part seems to work into itself. While having all the characters in spandex may seem like senseless eye candy, it actually works and fits the overall aesthetic being based on professional wrestling. From grabs being a main mechanic to even taunts having their own dedicated button. And taunting does serve a purpose aside from looking cool, it's how you keep your combo meter up without attacking. And every character has a unique taunt, and they all look so good. My personal favorite being Asmodeus and Bune. I could keep going and mention the sheer variety in music or how good the voice acting is. I could even mention that despite being cooperative, the game does encourage competition because at the end of every level segment, the MVP is awarded crowns. And whoever gets the most crowns is awarded King of Hell. It's these small things that add up to make a pretty good whole, which is why I'm giving Kings of Hell an 8 out of 10. I have to take some points off because this is a demo and not a full game, and there are some rough edges here and there, but the flaws can be ironed out and the fundamental gameplay of Kings of Hell is actually pretty good. I look forward to the game's next update, and you should look forward to our Patreon shoutouts. For our 3 stars, we have special thanks to 87 Werog, Deku, Zorojao, Choron, Ganlafei, Drankinya, AnonRC, Lightning Shadow Kayun, and Morvonla. For 4 stars, we have Miki Moon and Miko, the Lone Sharks. For our Super D-Tuper special 5-star shoutouts, we have first Vanilla Flower, the Accumulator. Second, Poor Mage, the Intimidation Crab. Then the Good Old Days, the Venture Crabitalist. Followed by Hodari Lion, the Ravenous. Next, Sky King 64, the De facto Mayor. And finally, Mahagasaur, the Crab Hunter. Thank you for watching. Do be sure to like, subscribe, and check out my Ko-fi and Patreon in the description. As always, I'm your host Fuuri, signing out.